Adequate notice of this February the 14th, 2019 meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a written notice and agenda of the meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, 1000 Route 10, Township of Hanover, by hand delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: Morris County's Daily Record, the Star Ledger, Hanover Eagle, and filing same with the Township Clerk. May I have a roll call, please?
Committeeman Gallagher.
Here.
Committeeman Faramaska.
Here.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Here.
Committeeman Cahill. Here. And Mayor Francioli.
Here.
5 members in attendance, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and remain standing for a prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all of the people of Hanover Township. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have the motion to open the floor. The floor will be open at this portion of the meeting and once again for the end of the meeting. So anyone who would like to address the Township Committee, motion to open. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. If you'd like to address the Township Committee from the podium, you can do so, giving us your name and address for the record. Seeing none. Hearing none. Motion to close.
So moved.
Mr. Administrator.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. As we continue with the agenda, the next item on the formal agenda is the approval of the Township Committee meeting of January 31st, 2019. May we have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Gallagher, seconded by Mr. Faramaska. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Ladies and gentlemen, we have departmental reports that are available for public inspection in the Administrator's office. They include 2 reports from the Township Engineer as of January 31st and February 13th. We have the summary of budget revenues as of February 8th, submitted by the Township's Chief Municipal Finance Officer. The construction official has submitted his report as of February 4th on the issuance of all certificates of occupancy and building permits. And finally, the Superintendent of the Public Works, Buildings and Grounds, and Park Maintenance Department has submitted his reports on all activities and projects conducted by his departments through February 13th. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of ordinances for consideration of adoption and public hearing this evening. And we're going to take several of those ordinances for public hearing as a consent agenda. They will be ordinance number 1, number 2, number 3. We're skipping number 4 for a separate vote, and number 7. So that's ordinance numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. We'll note for the record that the notice of introduction and ordinance for ordinance number 1 appeared in the January 16th issue of the Daily Record in accordance with law. And for ordinance numbers 2, 3, and 7, the ordinances and their respective notices of introduction appeared in full in the Daily Record on February 6th. So at this time, for public hearing and consideration of adoption on ordinances 1, 2, 3, and 7, may we have a motion to convene the public hearings?
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Mahalko, seconded by Mr. Gallagher on roll call. Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska?
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard and make any comments into the record concerning ordinance numbers 1, 2, 3, and 7? If so, please step forward to the podium and enter your name and address into the record.
Motion closed.
Seeing none, hearing none, we have a motion to close the public hearing, second by Mr. Faramaska. And at this time, we'll state for the record that the notices of adoption will appear in full in the February 20th issues of the Daily Record for ordinance numbers 1, 2, 3, and 7. So we have a motion to close the public hearing. We have a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now on adoption for ordinances 1, 2, 3, and 7, may we have a motion on adoption?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Faramaska, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for adoption of ordinances 1, 2, 3, and 7. Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
And Mr. Franciola.
Aye.
So approved and adopted. As we continue, ladies and gentlemen, ordinance number 4. This is an ordinance of the Township Committee in the County of Morrison, State of New Jersey, authorizing the warranty of the payment of the principal of and interest on not to exceed $4 million aggregate principal amount of county guaranteed loan revenue bonds, Series 2019, Whippany Firehouse Project, issued by the Morris County Improvement Authority for the purpose of providing additional security thereof and determining certain other matters in connection therewith. We will state for the record that we have the proof of publication that the notice of pending warranty ordinance and summary appeared in full in accordance with statute in the February 4th issue of the Daily Record in accordance with law. So at this time, may we have a motion to convene the public hearing on ordinance number 4-2019?
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Cahill, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
And Mr. Franciola.
Aye.
Is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 4-2019? If so, sir, please step to the microphone and give us your full name and address for the record.
William P. Keener Jr., 26 Hamilton Court.
Bill, bring that microphone up to you. Thank you.
William Keener Jr., 26 Hamilton Court in Whippany. 2 questions. Hopefully there'll be no default, but if there is default on the mortgage, who gets the building?
That would be the township. If there's any default, the township would become the owner of the building. We've conducted a title search, and there are no other liens or obligations but for this obligation. So it would be the township's property.
It would not go to the county.
Correct.
Okay. Second question, on the sale of the existing fire building, is there any definition as to where that money goes? Does it go to the down payment of the principal on the bonds, or does it just used in general by the fire company?
Yes. Now, a couple things. First, the governing body this evening is not going to move forward with the adoption of the ordinance because there is still a state requirement that which the Department of Community Affairs needs to approve the proposed financing, so the county and the fire company still need that approval. So that means that the township doesn't proceed tonight. But there's a public hearing that's been advertised, and it's a good exercise to answer these questions. There'll also be a memorandum of understanding that the parties will work on, which will account for what happens to the monies from the sale of the firehouse. And it could include some type of basically an allocation where some of the funds go to complete the new facility and some of the funds go towards the payoff of debt or additional collateral.
But that's going to be done sometime in the near future?
Yes. That'll be spoken for when the governing body takes action on this bond ordinance.
Tonight? Not tonight, though?
Not tonight, because it's not permitted to do so, but they wanted to have the public hearing nonetheless for any discussion.
Okay. I did notice, if I understand it correctly, that the cell tower income is included in the financing? of the bond?
Yeah, that's correct, but in a very positive way, that the proceeds from the cell tower rent would be dedicated toward the payment of the bond. So that's really a form of collateral in itself. That'll be dedicated funds towards the payoff of the actual debt.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No, actually, my friend back here answered a lot of the questions I had for you guys. He took care of me before you came in, so I'm satisfied. Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
we'll expect to see the financing details will be made public also, right?
Absolutely. It's something that the committee's working very diligent, in a diligent manner, and even had last year commissioned an independent evaluation to make sure that this was something that the township could work with.
There is one other question that just came to mind. Who oversees the payment of who oversees to ensure that the fire company is making payments on the bond on a regular basis?
What I would say to that is, if there wasn't a payment made in a timely manner, the township would be notified, and most...
So who oversees that? Who would notify the town?
That would be the county would notify the township and the fire company, and it would only take one missed payment for that to occur, and then the default provisions would immediately be triggered. This isn't like
Just one missed payment?
Yes.
And is there a annual inspection of the building by the bondholders in order to ensure that it's being maintained at a proper level?
Well, I don't know if there'd be an annual inspection as much as that the facility, like any other facility, has to be approved. Any work has to be approved by the construction department, and there's already...
I'm not talking about new construction. I'm talking about making sure that the owner of the property, the current owner of the property, is maintained on a regular basis. For instance, my insurance company comes around once or so every 2 years and takes pictures of my property to make sure I'm maintaining it properly at the current level of, in my case, a house, current price level. I'm looking for sort of the same thing, someone to inspect the property.
I think the way that's covered is that the facility has to be used in accordance with the appropriate zoning, construction, for firematic and fire protection services, and it can't be any different. So I would say the answer to that is yes. If you read the agreement in its totality, that will ultimately be put together, and the requirements of the bond. But I can verify that, I'm sure, by the next public hearing.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure this building is maintained at its maximum quality.
There's been a very good commitment by all of the parties to make sure that things such as the condition of the building, the financing, and the funding is all for the benefit of fire protection services and the public. So there's a number of checks and balances that everyone is verbally committed to that is going to be ultimately put in writing.
Okay, well, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Anyone else in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 4-2019? Okay, as our township attorney indicated, the local finance board yesterday did not review the application of the Whippany Fire Company, and in that regard, based on the opinion of the township attorney, he is suggesting to the township committee that the public hearing this evening be continued to the meeting of March 14th, because the local finance board is set to review the application on March 13th, the day before. So at this point, absent any other comments into the record, I would ask that members of the Township Committee move to carry the public hearing to March 14th.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Francioli, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call to carry the public hearing and the ordinance to the March 14th meeting. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So carried, and a notice will appear in the newspaper to indicate that it is being carried to the meeting of March the 14th. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now if we continue with our agenda, we have item number 8. We have introduction of ordinance numbers 8 9, 10, and 11. And these four ordinances will be further considered for public hearing and consideration of adoption at the Township Committee meeting on March the 14th at 8 p.m. here in the main meeting room at the Municipal Building. And at that time, any citizen wishing to be heard concerning ordinance 8, 9, 10, or 11 will be given the opportunity to be heard. With regard to ordinance number 11-2019, in accordance with the municipal land use law, that ordinance will be transmitted to the Hanover Township Planning Board for review and recommendation back to the governing body before the date of public hearing and adoption. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time I would ask for a motion, consent agenda, on the introduction of ordinance numbers 8, 9, 10, and 11.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Ferramasca.
Second.
Second by Mr. Francioli. On roll call for introduction, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramasca. Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
And we'll also note for the record that the four ordinances and their respective notices of introduction will appear in full in the February 20th issue of the Daily Record in accordance with law. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to item number 9, which is the consent agenda for resolutions A through F. Are there any questions from members of the governing body concerning any of the resolutions?
Move they be approved.
We have a motion by
Second.
Mr. Ferramasca for approval, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for approval of the resolutions as a consent agenda, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved. Next item of business, item number 10, payment of bills, $8,225,673.73. May we have a motion on
So
the
moved.
payment of bills? We have a motion by Mr. Francioli, seconded by Mr. Ferramasca. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved. Raffle applications 3185, 3186, 3187, 3188, and 3189, also to be moved as a consent agenda. Any questions from members of the governing body on any of the raffle applications?
Move they be accepted.
We have a motion by Mr. Ferramasca, seconded by Mr. Mahalko. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved. Mr. Chairman, members of the Township Committee, that clears the agenda of the Business Administrator, Township Clerk, and I thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, gentlemen, at this time, the Township Committee would like to hear a report of from the Township's attorney concerning the status of the Township's affordable housing obligation. Fred Sumer, our counsel for Township, has been giving us ongoing updates on this, so Fred, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, we have continued to work with Fair Share Housing towards putting the plan that was discussed at the last meeting and agreed upon by the Township into effect. It's going to take time and many steps to do that. It calls, as I stated, it does not mean that there's any approvals for these properties. It means that the committee has quite a bit of work to do, and so does the planning board, to take a look at various planning issues so that these projects are constructed or planned in such a way to protect the overall character of the community. There's two steps that are ongoing right now. We're getting ready to ask the court for approval of the town's third round plan, and that'll be sometime in the spring. And the second issue is to start the process, it's appropriate to ask the planning board by way of a resolution to conduct a study with respect to both the Pine Plaza and the River Park properties, a study to see if there are areas that are deemed per the law as areas in need of redevelopment. So tonight I would just ask the governing body if they would consider a resolution to ask the planning board to authorize the planner to undertake an investigation to determine whether the area, which in this case it's River Park, would be an area in need of redevelopment, and that's for blocks, I have to read into the record the property blocks and lots, but it's Block 3801, Lot 2, Block 4101, Lots 1 and 23, to see if in fact they qualify as an area of redevelopment. That'll give the town more tools for effective planning. Again, it doesn't mean there's any type of approval, and as stated at the last presentation, it's within certain guidelines. Things like Legion Place are not included for any development for this particular project. Same with certain setbacks and restrictions from Eden Lane. But it's just to conduct that study. So that would be the first motion I would ask if the governing body would consider. And that again would be to ask the planning board to conduct a study to see if the River Park property qualifies for an area in need of redevelopment.
Do you need that action tonight?
I would, Mayor, I spoke to the administrator and asked if that would be okay if we would proceed that way, just to keep things
Accept your
moving.
verbal descriptions as a
Yes,
resolution?
yes, we will memorialize that.
I'll move to recommend to the planning board to conduct an assessment of area need as specified by the attorney.
We have a second?
Seconded.
We have a second by Mr. Francioli. On roll call, on the motion, and on the recommendation of the township attorney, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
And that resolution will be memorialized in writing.
Did I have 3 blocks and lots? I'll never know. And then, thank you, Mayor. The second action would be as it relates to Pine Plaza and that shopping center and some of the ancillary properties as well. Again, just to evaluate whether that property is one that would qualify for an area redevelopment. This would be a study for the Pine Plaza parcels and some of the ancillary commercial parcels next to Pine Plaza that may very well be need or part of ultimately a redevelopment. And here as well, I would ask for a motion of the governing body with one distinction, that there's a request that it's considered whether the area of redevelopment will also qualify for this type of redevelopment plan, which could include condemnation. That doesn't mean it would include condemnation, but it gives the option if, in fact, there was a property, commercial property, that was in need of that type of change, whereby it wouldn't disrupt the rest of any type of improvement for a project. So this would be a request for redevelopment, a redevelopment study for the Pine Plaza property, as well as some of the ancillary properties surrounding Pine Plaza, the commercial ones along Route 10. So I would ask the governing body as well if they would consider a motion to ask the planning board just to conduct that study. And I should note that the Township Committee is also looking and interviewing planners to recommend to assist in these studies. And in both studies, both Pine Plaza and River Park must pay for whoever you hire as a planner, no matter what the outcome is. It's for an independent type of evaluation.
I'll make a motion to recommend to the planning board to conduct an assessment of an area needs study for Pine Plaza per the attorney's stipulations.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Ferramaska, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Mahalko.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved, and again, this resolution also will be memorialized in writing for the record.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor. That's my
Thank you
report.
very much, Fred. All right, gentlemen, at this time, I'd like to open the floor to the public once again. May I have a motion to open?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. Anyone who would like to address the Township Committee at this time can do so from the podium. Seeing none. Hearing none. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay. Committeeman Gallagher. how are
Ron, as you would say, I'm going to do a lightning round here, but we have quite a bit. And the first one is serious, the rest of it's kind of fun. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much to the DPW for the storm we had this past Tuesday into Wednesday. A lot of us that are involved in this industry, and Committeeman Mahalko also plows is we say, where are those snowstorms that were 3 or 4 inches? You plow them, you salt, and you go home. It seems like we have snow, freezing rain, sleet, snow, and then it freezes. So these storms are very, very difficult. And the timing and the management and the execution, it really takes a lifetime to get it down. Even when we work at FDU, we're constantly pivoting and changing our plan of attack, but the DPW did a fantastic job. And I also want to take a minute to compliment Hanover Township's residents. I can't tell you how many people I've seen in the last 2 days shoveling sidewalks. More than since I've moved here, to be honest with you. So everybody's chipping in, doing their fair share, and it makes it a lot safer for our families, especially for our kids. So thank you, Hanover Township. It goes noticed how much you've been working on cleaning your sidewalks, so thank you. A couple of the good things now. Tomorrow night, week 7, Friday nights at Menon Arena. I've had a lot of people there, a lot of kids there, a lot of great activities, and it's just a good time. And the winter is flying, and fortunately the winter's flying. March 1st is our big night. Like I've said more than once, you'll see all of us there. It's law enforcement night. Last year we had almost 150 law enforcement officers at Menon Arena. We plan on having about that many this year, hopefully a little more. We have equipment. The kids get water bottles and string bags and everything, and they interact with our law enforcement, and we're very happy to see that, and we're happy that it really caught on and we can offer this kind of activity to our kids. March 9th, Whippany Park High School, New Jersey Teen Concert Series. Cultural Arts has really stepped in and taken this bull by the horns. They're doing a great job with the structure and the logistics. But of course, you can't do anything like this without a team. We've been working with the high school. We've been working with the New Jersey Coalition for Education and Positive Choices. And we don't do very much now with our kids without Committeeman Mahalko interjecting the Recreation Department in all our activities. So, and Mike, we have you penciled in for some really nice rope lines and drum risers and everything else, so we'll talk about that later. But thank you very much. The following Saturday night, we have a legend in this town, Joe Bergamini. He's a great, great drummer. He's doing a master class, not only for our drummers, but the drummers and teachers from all the surrounding municipalities. So if you want to hear some great drums that night, come to Whippany Park High School. It's free. Once again, Cultural Arts is at the top of the ticket with the Drug Coalition. And it's going to be a night of drums. What did they say? Sandy Nelson said in the 60s, let there be drums. And even AC/DC said in the 70s, let there be drums. It's going to be a great night, a lot of drums, a lot of volume, and a lot of speed. Okay, Chinese New Year, Cultural Arts. 2 weeks ago, I think most of us were there. 400 plus. Great, great day. A lot of entertainment, a lot of dancing, a lot of martial arts. A lot of people having a very, very good time. So it was great to be there. It's great to see it, and I want to thank Cultural Arts for, once again, going above and beyond. With the Drug Coalition, last year we introduced a program that didn't get off the ground, and we always say everything's about territory, and our Drug Coalition is a Hanover Township-based coalition now with 19 towns. But we introduced something last year, and we pulled it off last Sunday. It's called Trainer with Hanover Township PD. We had our varsity athletes come out and train at Retro Fitness with our police. And they worked them. They worked them. It was a great event. Chief Roddy gave a great inspirational talk to the kids about staying squared away and doing the right thing, and it was just great. And of course from that, it's just like having kids. You do one for one, you got to do it for the other. The Tigers have reached out to ask if they could be trained by the police. And of course, Mike Calabay, baseball, says, how about if we get them come out and train baseball before opening day? So now it's at the level where we're going to have to talk to Committeeman Cahill, who's public safety. But again, these guys are leading by example. Interacting with our families like that on a new level is just beautiful to us parents. So I appreciate it. Thank you, HTPD. Great, great job. You really do a good job. One more thing, Ron. You know what? I think we can leave it there.
You want to leave it there?
I think we're good.
No,
Thank
very
you for your
good.
time.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. I got to tell you, most of us were at the celebration of Chinese New Year. That was colorful. That was beautiful. That was twice the size, almost, of what you put together last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all enjoyed a wonderful afternoon there. My congratulations, I'm sure, of all of us on the committee, to the committee that have involved itself in organizing it. Absolutely fantastic job you guys did.
They're really something else, those guys.
Yeah, that was beautiful. They brought in acts from all over, you know, and the participants in there, I understand some of them came in from overseas.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Hey,
Great
Ron,
job.
one more thing. Cultural Arts is currently looking for new members, so if anybody wants to get involved in cultural arts, we'd love to have you. Contact our business administrator, Joe Giorgio, and we could use you. They're doing much, much more in town, and again, they're working with the kids in a different way than they ever have, so we appreciate that. So if anybody's interested, please call Joe Giorgio.
Great group. A great group, very good. Committeeman Cahill, how are we doing?
Very good. Happy Valentine's, St. Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, stepping back to Chief Brody, just wanted to mention that on February 1st of 1989, he started here as a patrolman. So February 1st this year was his 30-year anniversary. So I just wanted to throw out a congratulations. Clearly worked his way up to running the department from everything that we've seen so far. He's running a great department, so hopefully we'll keep him for another 30 years. The other thing I just want to touch base on, just a little bit, again, our town, much like a number of other communities surrounding us, have been touched by the thieves that are robbing cars and stealing from cars and taking cars and that sort of thing. We had another incident last week. I just wanted to use the opportunity to put out another reminder to keep your cars locked and to remove any valuables. But I'd also like to suggest, again, I know I've mentioned this before, but it's a good time now, go over to the Hanover Township Police Department website and sign up for their video system registration. If you've got surveillance cameras, it's simple registration form, one kind of electronic page, just so that they know you have it, and if something happens in your neighborhood, then they know where they can go to see about investigating or looking at some video. And of course, then the other thing is the rave system. If you haven't signed up for that, that's also on the Hanover Township Police Department webpage as well. And that will get you those notifications that we've gotten as we got this week when those occurrences were happening or shortly after. So very important that we sign up for all of those things. Saturday, just a reminder, Saturday, Fire District number 2 and number 3 are having their annual elections. Again, from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. District 3, which is Cedar Knolls, will take place at their firehouse. District 2, which is Whippany, will occur at the Whippany Firehouse. And then Whippany Fire Company, again, March 24th, is their pancake breakfast at the rec center, starting at 8 a.m. and ending at noon. So I'd encourage everybody to participate in that. We had this Tuesday, or last Tuesday actually, our first school and park traffic safety meeting of the year. So it went very well, kind of kicked off 2019. Spent a lot of time just discussing the open traffic initiatives that we were working on in 2018 that we haven't quite wrapped up, and kind of put those in order of priority. One of those being crossing guard staffing and trying to make sure that we have a full complement of people to help cross our kids. With that said, I'd also encourage anybody with any traffic safety issues or concerns, not necessarily around a school or a park, it could be anywhere in town. There is another form on the Hanover Township Police website where you can register your concerns and make the police aware of it. And then finally, the Hanover Sewage Authority had their reorganization meeting on February 6th. Pretty much went as planned. Dennis Dittrich continues as chairman, and everybody else are continuing in their former roles. And John Corona, one of the commissioners, was sworn in for his second 5-year term. And that's all I have for today.
Oh, thank you very much. Very good. Excellent. Recreation. Michael, what's happening down there?
We're busy as always. There's always something going on. But let me start with our seniors. If you are of age and you haven't joined up, please reach out to the group. They meet the first and third Wednesday of every month. It's a great group of people. They're very active. I've got a whole list of activities that are going on. So check out the website. Just a couple things. Mr. Coppola, again, is going to be leading that group, so congratulations to him. He does a terrific job. They're also getting ready for their St. Patrick's Luncheon is on March 20th. Again, check out the website. I don't want to go through all of this and bore everybody. They are so active. They do so much. In addition to that, there's also a lot of adult clubs that go on at the library, which a lot of people don't even know about. There's a Scrabble club, stitching, a knitting club, coloring for adults, Rummy Tile. A lot of these are weekly events. So again, check it out. We've got a new website, which I'm sure somebody's going to be discussing later. Check out the website. There's a lot of stuff to get involved, and I can't stress enough what a good group of people they are. They like to have a lot of fun. Go check out the seniors in the library. There's always stuff going on. We just had our first meeting for our Memorial Day parade. We met with the veterans last night. Mike McCory does a terrific job. You talk about military efficiency. He had that meeting organized step by step. Mark your calendars. May 27th, Memorial Day. We're having our parade, and hopefully we'll have a beautiful day again like we had last year. So mark that down. That's coming up soon. Coming quicker than you think. Now we'll get to the rec department. Unfortunately, if you're here tonight, you missed it, but there's a trip to the Paper Mill Playhouses tonight. It would have been a nice Valentine's Day event if you had. Again, check out the websites. There's so many events that are coming up. We have our traveling team program, which goes to a water park. That's on Monday. The kids are off school. It's for 6th graders. Again, just one more thing that they do. Unfortunately, it's too late to sign up for that particular one, but keep your eyes open for the future. We're talking about Memorial Day. Guess what's coming out in the mail? Pool packets are coming out already. So keep your eyes open for that. Again, it's a terrific facility. We're always looking to improve. We're going to be putting in new slides this year. We have some new lifeguard stands going in. Also, hopefully trying to get in a rock wall this year. Not sure if the budget's going to permit, but we're working on it. So hopefully we can get that in. So we're always trying to add some new activities, and there's always other activities that go along at the pool. So you're going to hear me start talking a lot about the pool, really drumming it up. It's a fantastic facility. Eddie Cashin does a lot of the programs for it and really gets people involved. So again, pool is coming up. Keep your eyes open for that. You can, again, check out the website if you haven't joined. And it's not just for kids. There's a lot of senior activities that go on. There's a big group of seniors that meet up there, and adults. They get together, they play cards, and Eddie and I were just talking. We're looking to put some programs together for seniors over there. Possibly some bingo, maybe once a week bingo, mahjong, that type of thing. So again, look to the pool. That's another place for the summertime. It's nice to come out. Just a couple more things. The Hanover Township football actually put together a kickball league for our students in town, our kids. My daughter's playing right now. And it's just a 5-week program. About 60 kids came out, different levels, and they just go to the rec center and they're playing kickball. You know, they play at lunchtime, but now they got a little game going on. And I was there last week. Terrific time. The kids had a great time. Thank you again for the Football League for putting that together. Again, keep the kids active. Get them off the couch. Get them moving around. One last thing. Thank you for Whippany Park High School. They invited the basketball over for the game on Monday night, and the young ladies went over to watch the basketball game. Unfortunately, the Whippany Park lost by 1 point. I heard it was a nail-biter. I wasn't able to make it. But they had a terrific time, and they got to see the older girls play, and it was a really nice function. Hopefully we'll do that again soon.
Super. Right? Now, my point about the pool is that there's so much going on over there. I was at a library meeting last night, and we got talking about the pool, and some of our library members, enjoy lap time over there, where they swim laps, etc. So there's opportunities at the pool, not only for our youngsters, but the pool then is off limits to youngsters sometimes and on limits to oldsters sometimes for other programs. So
per hour, 15 minutes for adult swim. So you get the pool for 15 minutes all to yourself.
There you go.
The children have to come out, and then again, you can do some laps. You can just hang out and chat. But there's always stuff. Again, the seniors. There's a big senior contingent that goes, and they really have a good time.
Bee Meadow Pool is a great recreational facility here in Hanover, that's for sure. Deputy Mayor Faramosca, what's going on?
EDAC's been real busy, and the good news is Hanover Township launched its newly updated website this week on February 11th. It's what we call the official source of information. If you want accurate information about what's going on in Hanover Township, visit hanovertownship.com. I want to thank all the people who helped make that happen. Special thanks go out to Shelby Snow, who coordinated with the EDAC team as well as Civic Plus, the provider of the site, to make that happen on time. I encourage you to visit it. I encourage you to use your computer. You can use your computer, you can use your laptop, you can use your iPad, you can use your smartphone. The website's accessible with every different type of electronic device. It's easy to use. It's got lots of information. Mr. Malco spoke about many recreational events that are going to be on that website that you can get to. And I would encourage you to use a feature of it called Notify Me Alerts. Notify Me is really cool. What it does is you'll identify what you want to be notified about, and you'll get that information. So if you want to learn about pool events, it'll give you pool events on a regular basis. In addition, if you want to learn about what the Township Committee has on its agenda on a given night, or the Planning Board, or the Board of Adjustment, or any other group, look at the website. All of the agendas will be published on the website. So we're really trying to be as transparent as we can to provide the members of our community with all the information that's available. Lastly, about that website, please sign up for emergency notifications if you haven't done it. It's really important. In the event of an emergency, we want to be able to notify you. Next subject I'd like to talk about briefly is the Environmental Commission. They are focused on solar energy in a big way. Dennis Wilson and Phil Glowy, Hanover's blessed to have two individuals like this who are members of the Environmental Commission and Green Team with significant knowledge in the industry, and they're working on bringing to the Township Committee what they call an RFP, which is a request for a proposal, okay, for what they call a solar-based integrated electronic storage system. In techie speak, a microgrid, and the microgrid would be capable of providing power to the municipal campus in the event of a power outage. So it's a very, very much a leading edge grid and very beneficial to Hanover Township. In addition, the second initiative that they're working on is something called Community Solar. And Community Solar is new. It's new to the state of New Jersey. And what that does, it's providing individuals an opportunity to participate in solar energy who don't have the ability to put rooftop panels on their house, etc. So this is designed more so for areas where you would have townhomes and things of that nature, but it's a good opportunity to provide the opportunity to participate in solar energy for those of you who do not own a structure where you can install your own panels. So it's a very good initiative. You'll be hearing more about that in the future. That concludes my remarks.
Excellent, very good, thank you. Thank you very much. Just a couple of brief ones. We will say of a brief, we do go on. But in any event, hey, number one, happy Valentine's Day. It's almost over, but we all on Township Committee wish you a happy Valentine's Day with you and your loved ones. We hope you had a great day. The spring is not too far away, even though you had a wonderful ice storm last night. So I want to remind you about Stony Brook Garden and Farm. That is ready for subscribers who would like to have gardens this year. You could do so through the Recreation Department. Denise Brennan and her staff over there. If you'd like to see the garden off of Stony Brook Drive, down there at the end near the ball fields, take a ride down past the recycling center, make a right turn into the Stony Brook Park area, look to your right, and you'll see the gardens. There's 144 gardens. Each one of the gardens is about 4 foot wide and about 16 feet long. And it's yours for the sum of $25 for the season. And if you wish to continue your subscription to that, that remains your gardens year by year by year. So everything is supplied for you there, just so you understand. Topsoils, mulch, etc. Plants, those you bring to the garden. The shed has tools for you, or working tools, etc. And more progress is going to go on with the garden very shortly this spring. They're putting in a gazebo, which will have electrical capability for into the gazebo. And the reason for that is we do have a curricular that we're working on for the schools, so that our youngsters in the middle schools, etc., might be exposed to hands-on gardening and farming as well. So I invite you to take a look at that. I also invite you to our meeting this coming Thursday on the 21st here at The Recreation Department, at 10 o'clock in the morning, the garden team meets. If you'd like to be a part of that or like to see what that's all about, please show up. We're happy to have you there and talk more about the garden. So that's going along very, very well. John mentioned to you our new website, Civic Plus. I want to reinforce that. It is, for those of us who are not computer savvy, it's probably the simplest site you could possibly use, because right at the top of the box of your home page is this big thing that says search. You could type whatever you want into that search box, and if it's on the website, whether it's government agencies, whether it's forms that you need, whether it's information you need on schedules, it's there. It'll pop up. Easy to use. A lot of time went into it, a lot of information, good information. So please turn to it, give it a shot, and try it. So on that note, I thank you all very much, and motion for adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gentlemen? Okay, thank you. Very good.
That was good timing there when I was
Very good. All set.
See if we can wind up.
Okay. It was late, too. Hey, Tom, I'm going to talk to you real quick before we jump in the back.